Hello, hello, and welcome back to Daily English Dialogues. You are tuning into the channel where we take your English from good enough to absolutely natural. I'm your host, Anna.
And I'm Mark. It is fantastic to be back with you all. Today, we have a topic that is arguably one of the most requested, yet one of the most intimidating aspects of language learning.
That's right. We aren't talking about grammar rules today, and we aren't talking about vocabulary lists. Today, we are diving deep into the world of pronunciation, specifically how to move past that intermediate plateau and sound more articulate, polished, and confident.
Exactly. It's that frustrating moment when you know exactly what word you want to say, the grammar is perfect in your head, but when it leaves your mouth, the listener frowns and says, "Sorry, can you say that again?"
Ugh, the dread. That request for repetition can really shatter a learner's confidence. So, Mark, let's set the stage. Why is pronunciation such a hurdle for so many upper intermediate learners? They know the words, so why is the sound so difficult to master?
Well, Anna, I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is that pronunciation is a physical skill, not just an intellectual one. It's more akin to dancing or playing a sport than it is to memorizing history dates. You are using muscles in your mouth, your tongue, lips, jaw, and soft palate in ways that your native language never required you to do.
That is such a crucial distinction. We often think of language as purely mental, but you're saying it's about muscle memory?
Precisely. It's about oral posture. Every language has a resting position for the mouth. In English, the jaw is generally loose, the tongue is relaxed in the middle of the mouth, and the lips move quite a bit. If you apply the oral posture of, say, Mandarin or Russian to English, you're essentially trying to play tennis with a golf club. You might hit the ball, but it won't be graceful.
I love that analogy. So before we get into specific techniques, we need to accept that we are training our mouths, not just our brains. Now, let's break this down. When students ask me how to improve, I usually divide pronunciation into two main categories, segmentals and suprasegmentals.
Now those are some advanced linguistic terms. Let's decode them for our listeners.
Laughs. Fair enough. Segmentals refer to the individual sounds, the vowels and consonants, the tiny segments of speech.
Right, and suprasegmentals refer to the music of the language. This includes stress, rhythm, intonation, and how words link together.
Which one do you think is more important for intelligibility?
Honestly, I'd argue that for upper intermediate learners, the suprasegmentals, the rhythm and flow, are actually more paramount than getting every single vowel perfect. You can mispronounce a vowel and still be understood, but if your rhythm is off, the native speaker's brain has to work very hard to decode what you're saying.
I completely agree. But let's start small and work our way up. Let's talk about those individual sounds first. One of the biggest enemies of English pronunciation is the discrepancy between orthography, that is, spelling, and the actual sound.
Oh, English is notorious for this. It is not a phonetic language. You have words like though, through, trough, and tough. They look similar but sound completely different.
So what is the tool we use to solve this?
The IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet. Now, I know our listeners might roll their eyes and think, I don't want to learn a new alphabet. But honestly, Anna, learning the IPA symbols for English is a game changer. It's like having a map. It stops you from guessing.
It really provides a visual representation of sound. For example, let's talk about the most common sound in the English language. It's not A, E, I, O, or U.
It is the glorious schwa.
The schwa.
The symbol looks like an upside-down E. It makes a very lazy sound. Like the A in about, or the O in lemon.
Lemon. You don't say lemon, you say lemon. That second vowel is a schwa.
Exactly, and this ties into the rhythm of English. English is a stress-timed language. This is a concept that blows a lot of students' minds. Anna, can you explain the difference between a syllable-timed language and a stress-timed language?
Sure. In a syllable-timed language like Spanish, French, or Japanese, each syllable takes up roughly the same amount of time. It sounds like a machine gun, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, very steady.
Right, but English is stress-timed.
Yes, in English, the time it takes to say a sentence depends on the number of stressed syllables, not the total number of syllables. We rush through the unimportant words, function words like at, to, the, for, so we can spend more time on the important words, nouns, verbs, adjectives.
And this is why the schwa is so vital. To rush through those unimportant syllables, we reduce the vowels. We turn them into schwas. If you pronounce every vowel clearly and perfectly, you ironically sound less like a native speaker. You sound robotic.
That's the paradox of English pronunciation. To sound better, you sometimes have to be lazier with certain sounds. You have to swallow sounds.
Swallowing sounds. I like that. Let's look at a practical example. Take the sentence, I want to go to the store.
If I speak that with syllable timing, pronouncing every vowel fully, it sounds like I want to go to the store. It feels clunky.
But a native speaker uses reductions. Want to becomes wanna. To becomes a quick t. So it sounds like, I want to go to the store.
Go to the store. It flows.
So for our listeners, step 1 for improving rhythm. Identify the content words in your sentence, the words that carry the meaning, emphasize those. Then take the grammar words in between and crush them down. Make them small.
Okay, so we have the theory, we know about the IPA, the schwa, and stress timing, but how do we practice this? We can't just read about it.
No, you need active practice. My absolute favorite technique is shadowing.
Shadowing is fantastic, but I feel like a lot of people do it wrong. They just listen and repeat.
Yes, that's listen and repeat, which is fine, but it's not shadowing. True shadowing is almost simultaneous. You listen to a piece of audio, maybe a podcast like this one or a TED Talk, and you speak along with the speaker with a delay of maybe split second.
Like an echo.
Exactly. You are trying to match their speed, their pauses, their intonation, and their emotion. You aren't analyzing the grammar, you are mimicking the music.
It requires a high level of concentration. I always tell my students to start with a transcript. Read along while you shadow first. Once you're comfortable, try to do it blind, without the text.
And record yourself.
Oh, absolutely. This is the painful part.
It is excruciating to listen to your own voice. Everyone hates it, but it provides objective feedback. When you are speaking, you hear yourself through the vibrations in your skull, which distorts the sound. When you listen to a recording, you hear what the world hears.
I recommend the sandwich method. Listen to the native speaker, record yourself saying the same phrase, listen to the native speaker again, listen to your recording, compare the differences.
That comparison is where the learning happens. You might notice, oh, I'm going up in pitch at the end, but the speaker is going down.
Speaking of pitch, let's talk about intonation. This is often the hardest thing for advanced learners to calibrate.
Intonation is the melody of speech. It conveys attitude, emotion, and grammatical function. The classic example is the difference between a statement and a question, but it's much more nuanced than that.
Right. In English, generally uses a falling intonation for statements. I'm going home. The voice drops at the end. It signals completion and confidence.
But if you use a rising intonation at the end of a statement, it sounds like you're unsure. I'm going home? It sounds like you're asking for permission.
We call that uptalk, and if you do it too much in a professional setting, it can undermine your authority.
Conversely, we have emphasis. In English, you can change the entire meaning of a sentence just by shifting the stress. Consider the sentence, I didn't say he stole the money. Anna, say that sentence but stress the word I.
I didn't say he stole the money, implying someone else said it.
Now stress say.
I didn't say he stole the money, implying I might have hinted at it or wrote it but didn't vocalize it.
Now stress he.
I didn't say he stole the money, implying someone else stole it.
It's incredible, isn't it? 7 words, 7 different meanings depending on the pitch and volume.
This is why robot reading fails. You have to understand the intent of the speaker.
Let's move to the engine room of fluency. We need to talk about connected speech.
This is the secret sauce, isn't it? This is exactly why a student can read a newspaper perfectly, but feels completely lost watching a movie without subtitles.
Exactly. In written English, words are like bricks. They're separate, distinct, and have clear spaces between them. But in spoken English, words are like water. They flow into one another. There are no spaces.
And if you try to speak with spaces, if you pronounce every word individually, you end up sounding robotic, or worse, the listener's brain gets tired because the rhythm is unnatural.
So let's break down the specific mechanics of this flow. We have 4 main tools in the connected speech toolkit: catenation, intrusion, gemination, and assimilation.
Let's start with the most common one, catenation, or simply linking.
This is the standard consonant-to-vowel link. If one word ends in a consonant and the next one begins with a vowel, you push that consonant over to the next word.
It's like a relay race, passing the baton. Take the phrase cleaned up. If I read it like a robot, cleaned up. But a native speaker moves the D. It sounds like cleaned up.
Or an elephant. We don't say an elephant, we say an elephant. It sounds like one long new word.
I always tell my students to imagine the final consonant is actually the first letter of the next word. Work out becomes work out.
Precisely. Now, that's easy enough when you have a consonant involved, but what happens when 2 vowels meet? This is where students get stuck. They create a little stop in their throat.
The glottal stop, like go away. It feels jerky.
To smooth that out, we use intrusion. We actually add a sound that isn't written in the spelling. We insert a ghost sound to build a bridge between the vowels.
There are 3 ghost sounds, j, wa, and in some dialects,
Let's look at the j sound. We use this when the first word ends in a high vowel like e or I. Take the phrase, I agree. If you say it fast, your mouth naturally produces a y. I agree.
Or see it. It becomes see it. You can actually hear a little y in there.
Then we have the W sound. This happens when the first word ends in a round vowel like O or U. Your lips are already rounded, so when you open them for the next vowel, a W pops out. Go away becomes go away.
Do it becomes do it.
Exactly. If you try to say do it without the W, do it, you sound angry. The W makes it friendly and fluid.
So that's intrusion, adding sounds. But sometimes, Mark, we have the opposite problem. We have 2 sounds that are exactly the same crashing into each other.
Oh yes, gemination or twin consonants. This happens when one word ends with a letter, say a T, and the very next word starts with T, like black cat or social life.
Beginners often try to release both sounds. Black cat. It requires so much energy.
It's exhausting. The rule here is don't release the first one. You stop the air for the first consonant, hold it, and then release it into the second word. For social life, you don't say 2 L's, you make 1 long L. Social life.
Good deal, you don't say good deal, you say good deal. You hold that D block in your throat for a split second longer.
It's a subtle timing difference, but it makes you sound much more in control.
Okay, we've connected consonants to vowels, vowels to vowels, and identical consonants. But what about when sounds completely disappear?
The famous elision, the vanishing act.
The most common victim of elision is the letter H in pronouns like he, him, her, and his.
In rapid speech, the H is often dropped if the pronoun isn't at the start of the sentence. Instead of tell him, we say tell him. The H is gone and we link the L.
What did he say becomes what did he say? I like her becomes I like her.
It can be confusing for learners because liker sounds like a completely different word, but context is key. And warning, only do this with function words. Don't drop the H in a content word like home or hotel unless you want to sound Cockney.
Right. I'm going home is a dialect choice, not standard connected speech rules. Lastly, Mark, let's touch on the trickiest one, assimilation. This is where a sound actually changes its identity to match its neighbor.
This usually happens because our tongues are lazy. We want to take the shortest path. My favorite example is when a T or D sound is followed by a P or B. Take Green Park. The N is made behind the teeth. The P is made with the lips. To save time, the N transforms into an M, which is also made with the lips.
So it sounds like Green Park.
Yes, or handbag. Nobody says hand-bag. The D disappears, elision, and the N turns into an M, hambag.
I have a handbag. It sounds crazy when you slow it down, but at normal speed, it sounds perfectly natural.
So here is the challenge for our listeners. Connected speech isn't about being sloppy. It's about efficiency. It's about the path of least resistance for your tongue.
Don't force these immediately. Start with linking, catenation. That's the easiest win. Wake up, turn off, come in, master those links first.
Agreed. Once you stop treating words as islands and start treating them as a stream, your listening comprehension will skyrocket because you'll finally hear what native speakers are actually doing.
So, Mark, we've talked about the flow of the river, but we need to look at the rocks in the river. I want to circle back to segmentals, the individual sounds.
The building blocks. You know, Anna, I often hear students say, my accent is bad. But usually it's not their whole accent. It's often just 3 or 4 specific sounds that they are consistently mispronouncing.
Exactly. If you fix those 3 or 4 sounds, your clarity jumps from 60% to 90%. So let's tackle the notorious sounds. We already mentioned the TH sound briefly, but let's drill it.
The classic villain. The unvoiced th in think and the voiced the in this. The biggest issue here is substitution. If you're French or German, you might replace it with an S or Z, I think so. If you are Hindi or Russian, you might replace it with a T or D, I think so.
The mechanics here are non-negotiable. You must stick your tongue out. I tell my students, look in a mirror. If you cannot see the tip of your tongue between your teeth, you are physically not making a TH sound. You are making a T or an S.
It feels incredibly awkward at first. You feel like a lizard, but you have to exaggerate it to train the muscle. Eventually, the tongue will pull back a little, but in the beginning, stick it out.
Let's move to another pair that causes chaos. V and W. This is huge for our listeners from Germany, India, and parts of Eastern Europe.
Oh, this is a fun one. The V sound is labiodental. That means your top teeth must touch your bottom lip. It vibrates, v, v, like a vibrating phone.
But the W sound is bilabial. It uses both lips. Your teeth should never touch your lip for a W. You round your lips like you're going to kiss someone, and then you open them. Whoa.
If you mix these up, you get very confused listeners. Let's look at a minimal pair, 2 words that are identical except for that one sound. Vet, animal doctor, versus wet, covered in water.
I took my dog to the vet. Teeth on lip. The dog is wet, round lips.
Another one, vest versus west. He wore a vest in the west. If you say he wore a west in the vest, I honestly don't know what you mean.
No, Mark. Let's talk about a nuance that separates the intermediate learners from the advanced ones. The dark L.
Ah, the secret dark L. Most students learn the light L. That's the L at the beginning of a word, like light, love, or lemon. Your tongue touches the ridge behind your upper teeth. It's very clear.
But when the L appears at the end of a word or after a vowel, it changes. It becomes the dark L. Take the word ball or feel. You don't just touch the tip of your tongue to the top. The back of your tongue actually rises up, almost like a G sound. It's a guttural sound.
It sounds deep in the throat. Compare leaf, light L, front of mouth, with pool, dark L, back of mouth. A lot of learners use the light L at the end, and it sounds very thin, poola. It shouldn't have that release. It should be a deep rumble, pool.
Speaking of pool, that brings us to our final vowel nightmare. The long U versus the short U. Luke versus look.
This is tricky because the spelling doesn't always help. Food and good look the same, but they sound different. Food has the long vowel oo. Your lips are tight and pushed forward. Good has the short vowel
Your lips are relaxed and barely round.
The minimal pair here that gets people in trouble is fool versus full.
Oh, dangerous territory. Fool, long, tight lips. Don't be a fool. Full, short, relaxed. I am full.
If you tell your host, no thank you, I am full, you are insulting yourself. You need that relaxed sound. I'm full. It comes from the belly, not the lips.
So how do we practice this without going crazy?
I recommend the staircase method for minimal pairs. Don't just say the words, put them in a sentence where you switch back and forth.
Like this. The vet went west. V to W. The ship is full of sheep. Short I to long E. Look at Luke. Short U to long U.
Record yourself saying those sentences. When you listen back, ask yourself, did I hear two different sounds or did I hear the same sound twice?
If you heard the same sound twice, you're definitely confused.
It takes humility to listen to your own errors, but that is the fastest way to improve.
Absolutely. Isolate the sound, exaggerate the physical movement, then integrate it back into the word.
We have covered a massive amount of technical ground today. We've discussed tongue position, muscle memory, and airflow. But Mark, I want to pivot to something that I think is actually more important than the mechanics.
I have a feeling where you're going with this. You want to talk about the mindset.
Exactly. We need to talk about the psychology of pronunciation because I have seen so many brilliant students who know the rules, they know the IPA, but when they speak, they still struggle. And it's not because of their mouths, it's because of their minds.
This is such a profound topic. When you learn grammar, it's intellectual. You're memorizing a rule. But when you change your pronunciation, you're messing with your identity.
Yes, your voice is your personality. It's how you project you to the world. So when we ask a student to suddenly change their rhythm, their pitch, and their sound, it can feel like we're asking them to be someone else.
I hear this all the time. I feel fake, or I feel like I'm wearing a costume. I had a student from Spain once who told me, Mark, when I do the American R sound, I feel like I am making fun of Americans. I feel like I'm doing a caricature.
That is the mockery barrier. It's a very common psychological block. You feel silly or you feel like an imposter. You think, if I sound too American or too British, my friends from my home country will think I'm arrogant, but native speakers will think I'm trying too hard.
So you get stuck in the middle. Your subconscious sabotages you. You keep your accent strong as a safety mechanism. It's a way of saying, I am not one of you. I am distinct.
And that is a valid choice. We should be clear. Having an accent is not a bad thing. It's a badge of honor. It shows you speak another language. But if your goal is clarity and professional ease, you have to overcome that feeling of fakeness.
So how do we hack this psychology? One strategy I love is the alter ego technique.
Like Beyoncé has Sasha Fierce?
Exactly. Beyoncé created a stage persona to overcome her shyness. Language learners can do the same. Don't think of it as you speaking English. Think of it as English Anna or American Mark. When you switch languages, you're stepping into a role. English Anna might be louder, more direct, and she uses a lot of melody.
That's so helpful because it creates a shield. If you make a mistake, it's not you making the mistake, it's the character. It lowers the stakes.
It also helps with the cultural personality shift. For example, in Japanese culture, being soft-spoken and reserved is polite. In American culture, projecting your voice and interrupting is often seen as confident. If a Japanese speaker tries to speak English with Japanese social rules, their pronunciation suffers because they're whispering. They need to adopt the English persona to physically project the sound.
It's almost like putting on a different coat. When you wear a suit, you walk differently than when you wear pajamas. When you speak English, you need to wear the English oral posture.
Another psychological factor is anxiety and tension. Pronunciation is physical. It requires loose muscles. But what happens when we're nervous?
We tense up. Our jaw locks, our throat tightens, our breathing becomes shallow.
And that is the enemy of good pronunciation. You cannot make a fluid, melodious sentence if your jaw is clenched shut in fear.
I've seen students who have great pronunciation in class, but the moment they get on a Zoom call with a native speaker, their accent becomes twice as heavy.
Because they revert to their safe mouth position, their native position. So the advice here is counterintuitive. To sound better, you have to relax. You have to care less. If you are terrified of making a mistake, you will sound robotic. If you're loose and willing to play, you will sound fluid.
I call this the beer effect. Obviously, we don't recommend drinking at work, but have you noticed how people often speak a foreign language better after one drink?
Laughs. Yes, because their affective filter drops. They stop overanalyzing and just flow. We need to find a way to achieve that beer effect without the beer.
Breathing helps, smiling helps, but mostly it's about reframing the goal. A lot of learners think the goal is to pass as a native. That is a terrible goal. It's almost impossible for adults, and it sets you up for failure.
The goal should be low-burden intelligibility.
I love that term. What does it mean?
It means how hard does the listener have to work to understand you? If I have to lean in, frown, and mentally translate your sentences, that is high burden. If I can sit back, relax, and understand you while chopping vegetables, that is low burden.
That reframe changes everything. You aren't changing your accent to fit in or to abandon your heritage. You're changing your pronunciation as an act of kindness to your listener. You're making it easy for them to hear your brilliant ideas.
That is beautiful. It stops being about your ego and starts being about connection.
Exactly. So to our listeners, embrace the feeling of being an actor. Embrace the awkwardness. The new sounds will feel weird in your mouth. That means you are doing it right. If it feels comfortable, you are probably just using the sounds from your native language.
If it feels weird, it sounds good. That's the mantra. Before we wrap up, let's give our listeners a concrete toolkit. If they have 15 minutes a day, what should they do?
Minute 0 to 5. Warm up. Literally, stretch your jaw. Blow bubbles with your lips. Stick your tongue out. Get the blood flowing to the articulators.
Minute 5 to 10, shadowing. Pick a 30-second clip of a native speaker. Listen, repeat, shadow, record, compare. Do it 10 times.
Minute 10 to 15, slow reading with a focus on linking. Take a paragraph of text, draw loops between words that should connect, mark the stress words, then read it aloud focusing purely on the flow, not the speed.
And for tech tools?
Google voice typing or Siri. Open a blank document and try to dictate a message. If the AI understands you, you're usually on the right track. If you say ship and it types sheep, you know exactly what your error is.
That is a harsh but fair teacher. Also, websites like Youglish are incredible. You type in a word and it shows you thousands of YouTube clips of people saying that word in context.
Youglish is phenomenal for seeing how real people speak, not just textbook audio.
And of course, keep listening to daily English dialogue. Exposure is key.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the physics of the mouth to the psychology of identity.
We hope this conversation has demystified pronunciation for you. It's not magic, it's mechanics. It requires patience, humility, and a lot of repetition.
Don't get discouraged if you don't sound perfect tomorrow. Focus on one sound or one linking technique at a time. Progress is cumulative.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment telling us which sound gives you the most trouble, and share this with a friend who is on their English journey.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and keep speaking.
Bye, everyone.
See ya!